When the stress of lockdowns and a pandemic permeated our lives a few years ago, many of us turned to hobbies as a way to de-stress, alleviate depression, and connect with family and friends. As we transitioned back into a new normal, some of us abandoned these recreational distractions. Tonight, we'll discuss the importance of hobbies as a promotion of good mental health and share some of our favorite ways to de-stress. Greetings and welcome to Hobbies, our break from reality. I'm Jen Medved, MATC librarian and instructor, and an avid hobby participant. Thank you for joining us as we explore the benefits hobbies can have for your mental health. I'd like to start by introducing our guest, MATC alumni Webby. Webby served as an officer of both the Imaginative Fiction Student Organization and Rainbow Society while a student, as well as my co-advisor for the student organizations during his time as an employee at the college. He is now an audio engineer and the owner of Cronus Studios. Welcome, Webby.
Hello, and thank you.
Okay, let's get this show started. What are your favorite hobbies and how did you get into them?
I would say 3 of my favorite hobbies is singing, fantasy, and anime. Singing I got into because I always knew that I wanted to get into recording, as you mentioned. And singing was a good way to enhance my ability to communicate with the musicians who are coming into my space.
Makes sense.
Makes it easier to work with them. I was just kind of surprised to find out that I was actually kind of good at it. And
That's
so
great.
I just started doing more of it, and it's hard to explain how it feels to take a personal skill and build that out and to make it your own.
Excellent.
As for fantasy, scholastic book fairs, you remember those?
Of course I do.
They would take a library, they would set up a bookstore in there, and you'd go and get $20 from your parents, and you'd find a book and pick something from there. And so I picked up Inheritance Cycle from Christopher Paolini, and that just drew me into the magical world. And then anime was just kind of an extension of that, in as much as it was just fantasy on screen and all of its whims and weirdness.
Awesome. So how did being a member of Imaginative Fiction allow you to explore your hobbies?
Well, Imaginative Fiction, like any club at any university, gave me the chance to kind of find other people who enjoyed that. Any hobby is so much more fun when it's done with other people who share that interest. And we did so many weird things. We did movie nights and karaoke, and we also did Nerf wars and so many stupid, beautiful things.
That's awesome. So what can you share with our audience about the importance of having hobbies or being part of a club, especially as it relates to positive mental health?
Well, so much of society today is based around us being these work minions, these people who just, you go to work, you do your job, and you go home and you sleep, and that's what you have time for. But that contributes so much to our emotional state of being and our happiness. Whereas if you take the time to discover something you like, I mean, that's a chance to connect with someone else. Are you really going to connect over what you did at work yesterday, or is it going to be over some show that you watched, or hey, do you want to play a game with me? I think that's kind of self-explanatory on that end.
And have you had experiences where you've been able to have that sort of crossover, work, and maybe you find somebody in your workplace situation who has some of those similar interests?
Plenty of them. I mean, I know that I've connected with a few individuals from the Imaginative Fiction Club, and we went out and we went out to the bar, and we just kind of talked about our shared interests, like a show that we just watched, and our favorite characters and what they got up to in the most recent episode. So that's always a fun form of connection.
And would you say these hobbies have helped you to improve your mental health over the years?
Oh, definitely. And my sense of self-worth very deeply, especially on the singing side, because again, that's something that I can call my own. That's not something anyone can take away.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Webby. Now, let's hear from some other hobby enthusiasts whose personal interests have provided a positive impact to each of them. We have bookworm and Star Trek superfan Hilaria Guzman, volleyball player and Hello Kitty collector Athena Banks, pool player Juan Vasquez, and college student Araceli Mercer.
And overwhelming at times. So getting lost in a book helps me de-stress, helps me relax. It allows me to get caught up in another world, another reality kind of, if you can say. So to get your mind off of everything that is stressful or just as an escape. So getting lost in a good book helps me regain focus and to mellow out, calm down, and it's my therapy, you could say. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved space, anything to do with space. So my go-to show was always Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. The idea of somebody traveling to different worlds, discovering new societies, new way of living has always intrigued me. I've loved the technology they have. The idea of new technology has always been a passion of mine as well. So it made me realize there's more out there. So Star Trek was my thing. I have watched mostly every series on Star Trek. I have read Star Trek books, watched the movies. Anything to do with Star Trek, I love. It's a way to escape. It's a way to look at another world, to see how other people you would think other people and societies and races would live. I enjoyed watching them travel through the stars. To think that would be possible one day has intrigued me. I can't wait for the day that eventually that comes to be. Hopefully it'll be in my lifetime. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen, but the idea of it has always been a passion of mine.
Ever since I was in 5th grade, I've had a passion for volleyball. I was so excited when I found out my school was going to be making a team, and that was where it all started. Ever since, I've been playing volleyball, and I really have a passion for it, and when I grow older, I want to be a professional volleyball player, and in college, I want to play for Marquette. Volleyball has really helped me a lot with my stress with school, and every day I look forward to playing volleyball either by myself or with my friends and my teammates. Volleyball really helped me with my leadership skills and coping with I'm not gonna win every game and I'm not gonna be the best out of everybody. Hello Kitty has always been something I love since I was little. Most pictures of you see, I'm always in Hello Kitty stuff, and even I have a whole bunch of Hello Kitty collectibles, and even my phone case is Hello Kitty. I just really love the show too. I like watching the show. I watch it when I go to sleep. I also really am interested in her friends too, like Karomi and Pom Pom Purin, and it's really just an interest of mine, and yeah.
So I've been playing pool for various years now. So the reason why I like to play pool is because I like the mathematical in it. I like the geometry in it. I like the way you have to think about how you have to position your ball, your next move. So you actually have to look on the table and see where your object balls are or your opponent's balls are, and you have to figure out a way in your mind pretty much real quick and see what angles you get a bank off the rails. So that's one of the reasons why I like to play pool. Also, another reason why I like to play pool is because I get to, when I go out, I get to hang out with a lot of my cousins or a lot of my friends that are also into pool. We do pool leagues, but it's just a time to get away, spend some time with them, blow off some steam. But you also get into it, and you know the camaraderie in it is very entertaining. You get to lift up your skills, and you know over time you develop your own way of doing everything. So I think that's another reason why I enjoy to play pool.
Cooking is my hobby because I got into it when I was living in California and I was meal prepping more. So trying to be better at what I ate and focus on kind of prepping for the week so I didn't have to eat as much fast food, and realized I really enjoyed kind of cooking on Sundays. It was a great way to relax and just not have to think too much but get something productive done. So I just got into it and I really started looking forward to cooking. As a kid, I had already really liked it and been drawn to it because my grandma cooked and my mom cooked. And so a lot of people close to me were really into it. My dad liked to barbecue and smoke things. So in a way, everybody in my family was kind of interested in cooking in some sort of capacity, but I really didn't get into it until I moved to California. And like I said, it was just really relaxing. It was something I had always looked forward to at the end of the day and kind of planned for throughout the whole week. Got excited to go grocery shopping, got excited to cook, and just enjoy a glass of wine and not have to think too much and let things relax for the weekend.
Such a great look at a variety of hobbies. Many thanks for sharing your diverse interests with us. Let's dive a little bit deeper into how you think hobbies are a good source of self-expression. What are some of the ways that you think people can express themselves with their hobbies that allow them to get out of a social bubble?
It really is important to kind of get out of this little square that we kind of put ourselves in. And so number one, finding a place that you can interact with other people. For me, that's a lot of conventions, anime conventions and gaming conventions. I know that there's also ones for Tolkien and stuff like that. But just finding somewhere that people interact, and then being able to find their version of the hobbies. And you'll find that it intersects really surprisingly with areas that you didn't expect, such as in anime, creative writing and art. There will be a lot of panels about that. I don't know how you would really explain a panel, but kind of a coming together to share your experiences with a particular subject and your views on it. Or just any of these ways that people take their own spin on things. That's what excites me. That it's not just the original content, it's putting your own self into it.
And do you have any personal experiences related to that sort of notion that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, yeah. Again, I mentioned conventions. Anime Milwaukee, it's coming up.
Sure is.
Many years ago, I went there, and I have a lot of friends who come from all over the country, all over the world, really.
Very popular convention.
Oh, extremely. And it's an anime convention. I didn't expect that, karaoke to be popular, but every year I hear people clamoring for it and looking for it. And so I'm like, okay, I'll set up a mic and some speakers in my own room, and we'll see what happens. And really wasn't expecting anything. But turned into just this tiny hotel room. I mean, standard double bed hotel room, just filled with people. We'd stacked the mattresses against the wall to make extra room. And people were bringing friends of friends. And it was shocking to me how much these interests crossed over. And not just that, but how many new friends I made in that process and was able to really keep in contact with them and grow my own social bubble, as you said. And I think that's really what's important to me. And those are the kinds of stories that I'm going to bring with me into the future.
Excellent.
So I guess my question is going to be, I know how we met. That was through our hobbies.
Yes.
But the bigger question to me is, how did you get into them? I don't think that's a story that you ever really told me about.
Sure. So, as you know, I've got a diverse group of interests in terms of the different types of hobbies that I partake in. A lot of things that are creative related, like writing and creating art. Some things that are more being able to just explore things of interest, like things about ancient Egypt, and as you mentioned earlier, things about the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. So there's kind of different stories depending on what those are. And with a lot of the earlier ones, they relate back to family experiences and connections there. When I was really young, my mother had kind of a game that we would play with myself and my siblings, where we'd sit around the table or maybe on the couch and we'd tell stories. We'd trade off the different parts. One person would start, the next person would continue it, and we kind of had these fun little story games that we'd end up playing. And, with some of the other hobbies, my father used to sing in the car when we'd have car rides, and we'd sing together and sing silly songs. And that's how, we've done some of the different karaoke stuff later. It's kind of a fun thing to be able to do that you can just do, right? Like hobbies and things that you can just do without having to have a lot of other things around. The ancient Egypt was from my aunt, who has really an interest in ancient Egypt, and then getting to know about those things as she was learning about those things was kind of fun. We even actually had the same professor at college. When she had first gone, and then years later I had the same professor, so that was kind of fun for that class. So you have those family connections, and then there's the things that happen with your friends later. The man that I would later marry, when we first started dating, was surprised that somebody who was into science fiction and fantasy had never read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings.
You hadn't?
I hadn't.
Oh.
And so I hadn't even encountered any of that in my younger years. So there I was as an adult, first experiencing those fantasy works. And he started reading The Hobbit to me on one of our early dates, and finished reading The Hobbit to me on our honeymoon. So that was kind of a fun connection there. And a year later was when there were some traumatic experiences that occurred. 9/11 had happened, and the films came out for Lord of the Rings. At that time, they had first started coming out. And so it was a fun connection that we were able to do during a time of a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety that people had during that time. I had two friends from high school who were both recalled, one from the Peace Corps and one from studies overseas. And the four of us, my husband, myself, and these two friends, we started a little D&D club in our apartment, and it kind of grew from there for a couple of years. And it was that escapism that we were able to get into, and the fun of being able to do that. Now, I'm very fortunate being in the Milwaukee area, because there's a huge collection of Tolkien materials at the Marquette University. They have a Tolkien archive there. It's where they house a lot of the original papers for The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and some of the other works that Tolkien wrote. So I've been very fortunate to be able to go over there, look at some of these magnificent things with my own eyes, and then meet other people, because there are many people who come to see those other things. And so I'm very fortunate. I get to be here and meet a lot of people in person at events that happen at Marquette, through the local Tolkien Society and through the Worldwide Tolkien Society, where there's all sorts of experiences, being able to create fan art, write fan fiction, play Lord of the Rings online with other people. So I mean, this is where all of those different little hobbies kind of branch out from that, based on an interest that I have. And there's so many ways to be able to connect with people online. So many different groups. One that I've been part of for a very long time is called the Silmarillion Writers Guild. They've been around for about 20 years online. And it's just fascinating getting to meet people from all over the world through that group. Just the other night, I was talking to someone from South Africa, and when we think about like how cool it is that we're able to make those connections, it's just really nice to be able to do that. And I think, when you then get to that point where the pandemic started, and having those connections was really instrumental in being able to, keep a more positive mindset with everything that was going on in the world. So that's really, where my journey of hobbies has led me, and I find that I'll try a little bit of different things. One of the things that I tried more recently was knitting, and that came about when we had an adorable dog named Trotter who passed away, and I needed something to do because I wasn't walking him, and I thought, I need something that I can do with my hands. And the writing wasn't something I could do because I was just thinking too much about different things, and the art wasn't really something. But I thought, I'm gonna try this knitting thing. I was terrible at it, absolutely horrible at it. I can do flat. That's what I can knit. But I found a knitting group that I was able to go and partake twice a month, and just meeting other people, again, that I wouldn't necessarily meet through work or some of these other interests, was really a lot of fun. And so I would encourage that you don't necessarily have to be super good at the thing that's a hobby. Just being able to have fun is really something that can help with that positive mental health as it relates to hobbies. Community definitely plays a role in a lot of hobbies. Even solo hobbies like creative writing or collecting comic books are going to have a community component. So let's talk for just a minute about the science of stress relief. Increasing serotonin can increase our happiness and help us with stressful situations. Both creativity and imagination have links to increased serotonin. Knowing that, what role would you say imagination and creativity play when it comes to hobbies, either your own or the hobbies of others?
Imagination and creativity is probably the biggest way that we make a hobby our own. And I've mentioned that already tonight, but that's something that's so important, because if we're getting back to me talking about, if you're getting to know someone, are they going to want to hear about your work? Are they going to want to hear about your hobbies? They just don't want to hear about, oh, I had fun with watching this. It's, what did you do with that? What was your take on it? And so the ability to think about it and then expand on that and make it something into the real world.
Sure.
Bring something into the real world through creativity, I think is probably the coolest part of this. I mean, when I go to these conventions, the thing that excites me most is going up and down these dealers' dens or artist alleys where the community comes together and they show off their work. They show off what they've done, and then you sit down and you have a conversation with some of these people. And then it goes even farther, and for some of them, they turn that into a career. Some of them a lifelong career. And it's a whole side of this that is, it's rare.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who are lucky to make your work your hobby, that's exciting. But even just being present and being able to share in that Oh, that's amazing.
It sure is. Well, hobbies really are our break from reality. It helps us escape from the intensity and challenges of life and allows us immersion into something enjoyable and meaningful. And they're just plain fun. Whether you have a hobby you actively participate in, are thinking of revisiting an interest that you love, or are considering a new hobby, remember that hobbies aren't just fun, they're good for us. Consider this permission to take a break and take some time for you and whatever you are passionate about. I want to thank our guest for his insight tonight, and I want to thank you, our audience, for joining us.
So when